This is Matthew Cratter from Trader University, and today I want to make a video called Goodbye Visa, Western Union, and PayPal. Now, these are brands that don't have a huge amount of love. PayPal in particular, PayPal used to be everywhere. Fortunately, we now have alternatives. But I want to talk to you about a new company that is run on the Bitcoin network that is going to put all of these companies out of business eventually. Visa, certainly Western Union, fairly quickly, PayPal, etc. And this company is called Strike. Or the app is called Strike. I believe the underlying company is called Zap. Pay attention to this guy, Jack Mallers. He's been making the podcast circuit. Really young guy in his early 20s. Very smart guy who has built Strike. And once you hear about this, it's going to take me a little bit to explain it. But once you hear about this, I promise you, your mind is going to be blown. This is one of the most amazing startups that I've ever seen. So in order to discuss this, we need to understand what the existing monetary networks are. These are private networks that are owned by corporations that basically, they verify your identity, they give you a credit card, they provide a way for you to send money to a merchant, and then maybe for the merchant to send money back in terms of a refund. And then they take a fairly high fee for this service, somewhere between 2 and 3 or 3.5%. That's what Visa takes. Visa network, the market cap of Visa, the corporation, is about $475 billion. And I'm using this as a proxy for the value of the network. That's really what you're paying for. You're paying for the brand and the network. If you're a shareholder in Visa, likewise, the market cap of PayPal is $285 billion. These are legacy networks. And what they did is they basically, over time, built up a network of buyers and sellers. That's why your credit card probably has a Visa insignia on it, etc. Then we have these international networks like the SWIFT network that are the product of a bunch of banks getting together and trying to find a way to send money to each other. It's called the SWIFT network. I've always thought that was a joke because it's not that swift, not that great to use. Now, I've spent a lot of time on this channel talking about Bitcoin, the asset, the new form of gold, digital gold. Bitcoin is a great store of value. There are only 21 million Bitcoin, etc. If you've watched my videos, you're very familiar with this. And I think Bitcoin is going from 30,000 to 500,000 in the next few years, probably higher than that, probably in the millions as well. So this is Bitcoin, the asset. But what we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, and where Jack Mallers and Strike really come in, is Bitcoin, the network. Bitcoin is obviously a network of nodes. It's peer-to-peer network, P2P, and you basically have people, you have public addresses sending money back and forth. You have a public address, which is where you can send or receive money, send money from or receive money at that public address. You have private keys that give you permission to do this, etc. And then all these transactions are recorded in blocks by the Bitcoin miners and attached to the blockchain, verified by and validated by the full nodes. So this is the Bitcoin network. You also have something that I haven't talked a lot about that's built on top of the Bitcoin network, which is called the Lightning Network. This is what's often called a layer 2 protocol. That layer 1 would be the blockchain. A layer 2 protocol is something that's built on top of the blockchain. The Lightning Network is used as a way of batching up small transactions, and then they eventually are bundled together and settle on the blockchain itself. Now, the Bitcoin network in many ways is like the Visa network. It's a way of verifying your identity, not necessarily your real world identity, but you can have a public address there where you can receive Bitcoin. The nice thing about the Bitcoin network and the Lightning Network is it can be used for micro payments. This has always been a problem. If you want to spend 20 cents on something, this isn't what the credit card company wants to see, or merchants want to see, especially if they have a $1 or $2 minimum that they have to pay in addition. So the real difference between these different networks, the networks we talked about at the beginning, these are private networks. They're either controlled by individual corporations or collections of banks and financial institutions. The amazing thing about the Bitcoin network is it's not owned by anyone. It's not controlled by anyone. It's peer-to-peer. Anyone can join this network. Anyone can can plug into it. So I'm going to explain briefly how Strike works. You can download this on your app. I downloaded it. I haven't used it yet. For some reason, I'm still in the process of being approved. They have to do KYC or whatever, and I imagine they're getting a lot of subscriptions. So this is how I understand it works, though I haven't actually used it myself. So let's say you want to send $100 to a friend in Europe. In the old days, maybe you'd mail a check. Of course, you have to figure out which currency the check is going to be in, which bank it's going to be drawn on. You could use the SWIFT network, which is very expensive and very slow and very painful. You have to go into a bank to do this. Let's say I just want to send $100 to a friend in Europe. I just download the Strike app on my phone. I link it to my regular bank account, and then the Strike app will move money in and out of my bank account using ACH, Automatic Clearinghouse, which is sort of the standard way of moving money between banks in the US. It's not like wiring. It's usually free. And so this is how the Strike app gets money from your banking account into the app. So let's say you want to send $100 to a friend in Europe. The Strike app pulls $100 out of your US bank, whether it's Bank of America or Wells Fargo or whatever, and you have that $100 sitting in your Strike account on your app. If you want to send $100 to Europe, Strike will debit your Strike account for that $100 US. It will convert it into Bitcoin, and then it will send that Bitcoin over to Europe using the Bitcoin Lightning Network, using this layer 2 protocol. Once the Bitcoin gets to Europe, it's immediately converted into euros, and it shows up in your friend's Strike account. He just has to download the app on his phone, and then the conversion rate's roughly $100 is about 82 euros the last time I checked. And so now your friend has 82 euros in his Strike account, his or her Strike account, and he can use that to beam the money somewhere else. He can withdraw it and hold it in his European bank, etc. It's his money. Now, the amazing thing about this is it did not cost anything to send. This was completely free. There were no fees involved, and it was instantaneous. The money got there in probably under a second. Absolutely amazing. Strike is able to do this for free because it just plugs into the Bitcoin Lightning Network, sends the money over there, and so Strike doesn't have to charge anyone any fees. Now, your friend who just got those euros can also use the Strike app to convert those euros into Bitcoin and then send it to his hardware wallet. So you can deal in the Strike app, you can deal with fiat currency. As I understand it, you can also deal with Bitcoin. And what's amazing about this, as I said, there are no fees. The money is sent and received instantly. Bitcoin Network, Lightning Network, completely open networks. You can plug into them. I can plug into them, as compared to the Visa and PayPal networks. Now, these private networks, they obviously charge fees. Sometimes they won't charge fees to consumers, maybe like PayPal or Venmo. You can send money to a friend for free, but they try to make money by charging businesses, obviously. Visa charges somewhere between 2, 3, 3.5%, depending on the total transaction amount. Strike does not charge any fees. This is how capitalism works. Which network do you think wins in the long term? Visa, PayPal, these closed networks, or the Bitcoin Lightning Network and Strike? Strike allows you to connect any network to any network simply because it's the intermediary for connecting to the Bitcoin and Lightning networks. So if, for example, Starbucks were to start accepting this, they would no longer have to pay. It's usually the merchant that pays these fees, especially to Visa. If you use your Visa credit card, Starbucks will save 2.5% to 3% fees on every transaction. These are huge amounts of money when you think about it, especially when you think of the fact that a cup of coffee is a fairly low margin business. That's why they always try to sell you croissants and upgrade you to food and higher margin items like chocolate, etc. So this is one way that the Bitcoin Lightning Network wins. I don't know if it'll be Strike that makes it possible. They definitely have the first mover advantage. By the way, they're not publicly traded, they're privately traded. But business will always migrate to the lowest cost network. Visa has had a stranglehold on this industry for many years. Obviously, PayPal has its own business as well. And these are expensive networks to use. They're private networks. And whereas the Bitcoin and Lightning networks are completely free. If capitalism works correctly here, what will happen is business will slowly leak out of the PayPal network, out of the Visa network, and will make its way onto the Bitcoin Lightning network. It's very fast. Everything settles very quickly. You get settlement of real money instantaneously. Whereas what happens with Visa is they sweep everything at the end of the day. They send money to one bank, receive money from another bank, and make sure everything balances out. There's actually a lot of complexity that goes on behind the scene at Visa and how the money makes its way to the merchant and then how it's withdrawn eventually from your bank account when you pay your credit card bill, etc. But this free network, this open network, Bitcoin network that anyone can plug into, anyone can do anything they want with. This has huge cost advantages. It's free and it's also incredibly fast. If you're enjoying this video and finding it helpful, if you like these kind of videos, whether about Bitcoin or momentum stocks or trading strategies or investments that work in the current market, I'd encourage you to hit the subscribe and like button right now. Now, Strike is also in the business of international remittances. It's basically the same business. International remittances are just when you send money from one country to another. So let's say a family member from El Salvador works in the U.S., gets paid in U.S. dollars, and then sends some money home, maybe to his parents or brothers and sisters in El Salvador. Countries like El Salvador are hugely dependent on these remittances. Billions of dollars are sent from the U.S. to El Salvador every year. And a lot of that money is sent using a very old company that hasn't really innovated in the last, probably in the last 100 years, called Western Union. They provide really slow service, very high fees, as we're going to see. And their basic business model, they had this monopoly for many, many years, which is slowly crumbling. But their basic business model is to exploit poor people and to exploit immigrants with outrageously high fees and very bad, slow service. Now, if you send money using Western Union to your relatives in El Salvador, not only do you have to pay high fees to Western Union, not only does it take a few days to get there, as we'll see, but you have this problem, and not just in El Salvador, in many countries, where gang members, local extortion groups will sit outside every Western Union and demand their cut. So if you walk out of there with $100 US, they'll demand $20 or $25. So the actual fees are enormously high, and there's all these basically criminals between you and the family member you're sending money to. All these toll booths, whether a legal one like Western Union or illegal ones like gangs, trying to extract some of the value. I like this meme. I'm sending your money with quote unquote Western Union. I just went onto the Western Union website to try this out. I've actually never done this, but you send money to, you want to send $100 to El Salvador. They will receive $100. I'm going to pay online using my credit card to do this. I'm sending $100. The fee is $7.49, 7.49%, which is just absolute extortion. Obviously, if there are no competitors, you can get away with this, and you can get away with it for a while. But in addition to this extremely high fee, and of course the receiver is going to have to pay 20 or 25% on top of that to when he walks out of the Western Union shop, the service time is 0 to 4 business days. Incredibly slow. If you were to send this money using the Strike app, as we'll see, the money would get there instantly and with zero fees. So let's try the same thing with the Strike app. You want to send $100 to relatives in El Salvador, often called a very unbanked country. Not a lot of people have normal banking accounts, as is true for lots of very poor countries. $100 is converted by Strike to Bitcoin in the US. The Bitcoin is beamed over the Lightning Network to El Salvador, and then when it gets there as part of the Strike app, it's converted to a US stablecoin called Tether, USDT. This is what they're using right now. Obviously, Tether has become kind of controversial in the Bitcoin community. I don't believe it's manipulating Bitcoin at all. That's a whole separate discussion. But Tether is very useful to people who are outside the U.S. banking system that want to get their hands on dollars. There are other stable coins. There are algorithmic stable coins. Tether seems to have a huge market share right now. But in practice, if Tether ever went away for whatever reason, obviously the Bitcoin could be converted into a different kind of stable coin, eventually maybe even a central bank digital currency dollar or euro dollar. So $100 converted to Bitcoin, sent to El Salvador. Bitcoin converted. Once it gets in El Salvador, it's converted to Tether. Obviously, there are no international money rules being violated here. You're simply sending Bitcoin. And this is one reason that the Lightning Network is used, in addition to the fact that it's incredibly fast and it's free to plug into and to use. So all of a sudden, your relative has $100 in US Tether, in USDT, inside of their phone app. And obviously people do need a mobile phone for this, probably a smartphone, not available in every country, but a lot of people do have smartphones, even in very poor countries. So your El Salvadorian relative now has 100 USDT, equivalent of $100 on their mobile phone. They received it from the safety of their home. Zero fees. They didn't have to pay a kickback to gangs. They didn't have to go out in the street and find their way to Western Union, which could be very far away from their house or could be very dangerous to get there, etc. Now that they have this stable coin, and again, it's not Bitcoin, it's not moving around, and so it will hold its value in the sense that it doesn't have the sort of volatility. They can pay anyone in the country or in any other country who accepts USDT, who accepts Tether. You can pay from phone to phone. You could pay your barber if he or she accepts it. You could pay the local grocery store. Everyone wants US dollars in El Salvador, and I believe it's the main currency that's actually used there now. So if they don't want US dollars or they don't want Tether, they can also go to any Bitcoin ATM in El Salvador. These Bitcoin ATMs are set up by different companies. Anyone can set up a Bitcoin ATM, plug into the Bitcoin network. And these were not set up by Strike. So Strike has fairly low capital expenditures in these terms. So your relative in El Salvador takes their phone, goes to a Bitcoin ATM, scans a QR code using their Strike app, and the ATM will then take money out of their Strike account. It will basically convert it from USDT, presumably, to Bitcoin, and then convert that to the Bitcoin ATM will convert it to either paper US dollars or Salvadoran colon. The colon does not seem to be used very widely at this point, but basically the principle would work the same no matter where this was, whatever the local currency was. No matter who was running the Bitcoin ATMs, etc. There may be small slippage costs here. There may be the ATM may charge a small fee, but either way, it's going to be significantly less than the 20 to 25% extortion plus the 7.5% sending fee from Western Union. Again, none of these ATMs are owned by Strike. All Strike had to do was set up a Lightning node or multiple Lightning nodes in El Salvador, and they're now available. Strike has done this in something like 200 countries. So you can send money to most countries in the world using the Lightning Network. Everything's open source. It's completely open. And the amazing thing actually is it doesn't cost Strike any money to make these transactions. They have partnerships with maybe a company like Coinbase, I don't know the exact company, that allows them to exchange. So if you buy Bitcoin using Coinbase, you pay a small fee. If you use Coinbase Pro, you pay something like 0.5% or 0.25%. Strike has partnerships with some of these major exchanges that allows it to do these exchanges between fiat currencies like the US dollar or euro or yen and Bitcoin, and they don't pay any commissions or fees. And so they can basically do this for free and then not have to charge their customers anything. Another reminder, banking system is closed on weekends. It's closed on holidays, lots of banking, church holidays in places in Europe like France and Italy. The Bitcoin and Lightning Network are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And again, it's an open network. It's not a closed, protected network like the Visa or PayPal network. Anyone can plug in to Bitcoin and Lightning. This suggests to me that PayPal and Western Union are in trouble. Obviously, PayPal has other forms of business. They now allow you to hold your buy Bitcoin and hold it inside of a PayPal account, etc. These businesses will not disappear overnight. Western Union has been in trouble for a while. The stock's really gone nowhere since it's really back to 2006 levels. We can see why with all of the new competitors entering the market. Using the Strike app, you could send $1 to El Salvador too. It doesn't have to be some minimum. You're not going to send $10 to El Salvador if you have to pay $7.50 in fees or whatever it would be. So the Strike app allows you to send $1 to El Salvador. You could send 50 cents, I'm sure, or you could send $100, $1,000, or you could send $1 million. No fees, no minimum transaction size as well. Now, this is one reason, as I think more about it, why PayPal will not let you withdraw your Bitcoin from your PayPal account. If they did this, all of a sudden your PayPal account would become a gateway to the Bitcoin network and all the other networks that are connected to the Bitcoin network, including the Lightning Network. They want you to stay inside the PayPal network, which is where they get their fees. And so the problem with this, that's great, you can protect it, but when you have an open network that's competing against you, it's very bad for your business. The free and open network almost always beats the closed, high fee, slow network. PayPal also has just a terrible, terrible brand. If you've ever had to deal with their customer support, it's really bad, and they really act like they don't care. Now, a lot of people think that XRP, Ripple XRP, Bitcoin Cash, BCH are going to be the new currency that's used to send money between banks, etc. Or I've heard the theory that Bitcoin is digital gold, and then Bitcoin Cash is digital, is like Venmo or digital PayPal, etc. This is just simply not true. These blockchains don't have the same usage. XRP is basically a scam that's in the process of being shut down by the SEC if they win their lawsuit. And Bitcoin Cash just doesn't have the same demand for block space, doesn't have as many transactions, and it has larger block sizes than Bitcoin, but this doesn't matter in the scheme of things. And this is one reason that Bitcoin has such a large market cap, and XRP and Bitcoin Cash, especially Bitcoin Cash, have much smaller market caps. So this is Bitcoin, the network, and this is really an amazing future if you think about it. As I've said before, the Bitcoin Lightning Network, it's open to anyone. It's peer-to-peer. It's open to anyone, regardless of your religion, your race, your national origin, your credit history, your political views. We live in a world where it's become where what you can say and what you can't say is changing every day. You may not have radical political views, but you may say something today. You may say something like, "I like children." I think kids are great. I have kids. And then 10 years from now, someone will decide that anyone who's ever said, "I like children," hates the environment, etc. You just never know. And it's become more and more sinister and random. So this is why it's important to have free speech. It's important to have the free flows of money as well. Money as an expression of free speech. Bitcoin Network is available in every country in the world. And as internet access gets better in some of the poorer countries in the world, the Bitcoin Lightning Network will literally be available everywhere, especially when we have satellites that are beaming high-speed internet service to the whole world, which is in process. Is there a PayPal? Is PayPal available in El Salvador? I don't think it is. Visa probably is. But you can't compete with the Bitcoin Lightning Network. There are millions of people using it and working on it. PayPal doesn't have enough employees. Visa doesn't have enough employees to do all of this work. This is the great thing about an open source project and an open network. Anyone can plug in and make it better. I would suggest that two of the most fundamental human rights, which are often forgotten about in the modern world, is the ability to store the fruits of your labor. You work hard. You may be in a job where you hurt your body every day, whether you're a football player, whether you are a home builder, a contractor, someone who does a lot of hard physical labor, or whether you have a desk job and you push paper around or you push digital paper around. The ability to store the fruits of your labor. Labor is lost time. It's time spent away from your family, probably time spent away from what you'd rather be doing. It's important that this wealth that you've accumulated, whether it's $10 or $10 million, cannot be devalued by central bank money printing, cannot be stolen, cannot be confiscated. I would suggest this is a fundamental human right. And the second fundamental human right is the ability to send your money to any other human being in the world. I think these two things are fundamental human rights. Now, both of these are handled by Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the asset, allows you to store the fruits of your labor in a form that cannot be devalued along with your local fiat currency. And the Lightning Network and the Bitcoin network allow you to send your money to any other human being in the world. Now, until Strike came along, you had to be somewhat technical to do this, but Strike makes it really, really easy. I would suggest that all the rules about money laundering and money and crime are a bit misguided. If someone is doing something bad with money, for perhaps something like child prostitution rings or something disgusting like this, go after the people, put them in jail for the actual crime, not for sending money. We can't have people telling us who you can send, whom you can send money to, whether they don't like the political candidate or they don't like the business, etc. It's a fundamental right for you to be able to do whatever you want with your money as long as it doesn't break existing laws or hurt the innocent or fund violence. If someone is running a terrorist ring, go after them for their acts of violence, not the fact that they're receiving money through an open or closed network. There's obviously a lot of one of America's contributions to the world, this idea of separation of church and state that was present at the founding. Bitcoin is often, the phrase is often used, separation of money and state, where money as a medium of exchange or store of value is separated from the state. It's the first non-sovereign global currency, and once it's separated from the state, you have freedom from central banks and money printing, and you also have the freedom to send your money anywhere in the world you want. We can be sure that this will be under attack, especially by the U.S. government as the promulgator of the world reserve currency, etc. But it's very unclear whether the U.S. government can even do anything about this. It's very difficult to compete with a very powerful, fast, open, decentralized, peer-to-peer global network like Bitcoin is. I would say that this whole thing is very bullish for Bitcoin. It's just another way of using the technology. Bitcoin is built upon the internet. People really underestimated how much the internet was going to change the world. And as people build Bitcoin on top of the internet, and they build things on top of Bitcoin like the Lightning Network, and then the Strike app on top of the Lightning Network, there's just an endless vistas of innovation coming to what's really been a very ossified and rent-seeking space, which is financial services, the traditional banking system, central banks, etc. I would suggest that this is bullish for Bitcoin, not just in terms of the network, the Bitcoin network getting more nodes and more people using it to send their money through using the Strike app, but also anyone who has money in the Strike app, they will turn on functionality in a few months, it sounded like, from some of the podcasts that I listened to, that you'll have the option of storing your money inside the Strike app in the form of Bitcoin or your local fiat currency, or really any fiat currency. And so what this ultimately means is more people getting exposure to Bitcoin, more people becoming hodlers, more people becoming aware of what Bitcoin can do. I still get comments every day in my YouTube videos that Bitcoin can't do anything, that it's just crazy internet money that's not backed by anything. I hope that this kind of video will lay that to rest. Bitcoin is a very nice way of sending money anywhere in the world. And now with the Strike app, it's incredibly easy to do this. So if you hear someone say Bitcoin has no value, it's not used for anything, Bitcoin is actually extremely useful. Try doing this with gold. Just will never happen. You can't send gold to El Salvador. It will never get there, or it'll take months and huge, huge fees. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.